Give it just a second to get up and running. We'll welcome everybody into the stream. Tom, here we go, man. Wednesday, May 1st, baby. Here we are.
I know. It's crazy. It feels like forever because so much has happened.
In
That's the
just a
thing, you
week,
know?
right? Just a
Yeah.
last week we were the last show before the NFL draft. We were
Yeah.
asking questions, wondering what Sean Payton would do. Would he move up and select some guys that you and I liked? Would he move back? Well, we have our answers now, folks, and we're going to get into it because Tom and I, we've been keeping a low profile, I think, on social media, trying to save some of our opinions for an action-packed MHI. He is Thomas Hall. I'm Luke Patterson. We've got Scott Kennedy with us as well. Welcome to MHI, where you can catch us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain. Tom, here we go, man. The NFL draft is in the books. You said it best. It feels like so much has happened in just a week. The Broncos have literally turned a new page, and that new chapter, it's Bo Nix, baby. How we feeling? How we feeling about Bo Nix? Quack, quack, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel fine about it. It's like I got to wait and see how, how it turns out. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'll tell you, I've been optimistic about the Broncos for I don't even know how long, and the last several years have really let me down on my optimism. So I'm just gonna just kind of sit back and watch things unfold and just see how it goes. But it was a pick that they had to take a quarterback. It's really irrelevant now that they took him 12 or 22 or wherever. Now he's just got to go out there and be the guy. And if he's not, then man, that's gonna be a bummer.
It's going to be a lot of trouble if he is not. And I'm excited. I'm excited about Bo Nix. I was going to be really upset if the Broncos did not land a first round quarterback. They did. Now, he wasn't my first choice, wasn't my second choice. That doesn't mean he's not going to work out. I am getting more excited by the day about Bo Nix. And speaking of Bo Nix, our good friend David Yonkin is weighing in with a $4.99 super to kick us off here on MHI. My honest opinion on Bo Nix: don't hold back a franchise quarterback or a good regular season quarterback. Yeah, it's so tough right now, David, right, to figure out what we're getting in Bo Nix, because I think we can definitively agree on one thing with Bo Nix: Broncos country, NFL draft analysis, whatever you're reading right now, we can agree that Bo Nix has a lot of snaps under his belt, Thomas. The guy has thrown for 113 touchdowns and 26 interceptions. Trying to just scan through how many games he's played. I mean, this guy has been in college since 2019, splitting it between Auburn and Oregon. One thing we know for sure: Bo Nix has had a lot of reps playing football.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean, hopefully that helps him, right? And my opinion is if he's not starting week one, it's going to be kind of a disappointment because it either means he's not good enough to jump in right now, or if they start him like mid-season or week 5 or something, it means the Broncos season is kind of not going the way they had hoped. So I
Bingo.
hope he can step in and start, be the starter from day one. And I think that's the plan.
Tom, talk to me about your anxiety level on draft night, because full disclosure, we were texting right up until the pick, and I'm freaking out, and you're just steady Eddie like you usually are, Tom. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, that we can have our guy, JJ McCarthy. We can have our guy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We get Bo Nix. He comes out. Sean Payton's taking little victory laps, I suppose, that all that interest in JJ McCarthy was supposedly manufactured. What'd you make of the gamesmanship from George Payton, Sean Payton in that aspect? Because it's hard to know what was ever sincere, what coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? All these calls that came up into the top 5, who were they? I don't think we'll ever fully know because, well, as you know, the season of lies, the NFL draft, I mean, that's what it's known for. What'd you make of Sean Payton, the JJ McCarthy smoke?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I remember back from when Shanahan was like the trickiest son of a gun out there when it comes to sneaking in on and drafting folks. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe there was some of it. I find it hard to believe that other teams really believe a lot of things that's being said because they all know people are trying to make up stuff. But I mean, if it's true and it worked and they got the way that they got what they wanted out of it, great. So I mean,
he got me.
Part of the plan, right? That's the
exactly.
intrigue.
He got me, Tom. He got me. I thought he wanted JJ McCarthy. It's kind of why I started to like JJ McCarthy, if I'm going to be honest with you. That's one part of it, right? Because
Yeah, right.
I'm not an NFL head coach. I'm not a play caller. I like to think I know a little bit about the game, and that's probably about it. But, Sean Payton's being connected with a guy. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a look. Can you blame some of those NFL teams like the Minnesota Vikings? I don't think the Vikings panicked, right? They didn't overreach. They were trying. They were making some phone calls. They got up, 2 spots ahead of Denver. It is what it is. I think when you look at Sean Payton, if I'm GM or head coach in Minnesota, I'm thinking that's a man who knows what he wants. And if he wants him, he's going to go get him. So there's some gamesmanship in it, but it remains to be seen what was actually the truth, what the interest. I don't know, Tom. You tell me.
The Vikings got who they wanted, right? I think they got who they wanted. And I think it turns out Sean Payton got who he wanted. So whether or not Minnesota had to trade up to go get him or not, that's kind of irrelevant. But I mean, if it's true, it's kind of a cool
draft day story. I think that will always be around and connected with JJ and Bo Nix. Now,
that's right.
Footnotes. I don't think they're going to go down in Wikipedia as being highlighted in the 2024 NFL draft, but I digress. Look who it is. It's Papa Bear coming in here. What's up, David? David, Tom, I don't know if you know, has been a superstar on the Huddle Up Pod. I was watching the other day and I saw David as a special guest on the Huddle Up Pod. And David, you did fantastic, man. It was great to hear your opinions as always, giving us some love. Good evening, Luke, Tom, and Deacon Scott. It seems like David's happy with the Bo Nix pick. And I was trying to read real quick there. Bo knows, #Bo knows. I was trying to think of some good creative nicknames for Bo Nix, right? And there's a few out there I can't say on the airwaves here that are pretty funny, right? Nick Foles, a la Nick Foles. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of leaning into this Oregon Duck thing. Some Mighty Ducks talk like quack, quack. I don't know. You get his teammate in Franklin here. I'm leaning into the Mallard and the Duck thing right now, Tom.
Yeah. Go old school, like Bo Cephas or something, like something from the olden days.
Oh, there's our guy, Michael Rinquillo. Good evening, Luke and Thomas on the Mile High Insiders and Go Broncos. The Colorado mayor approved the holiday for Randy Gradishar. I don't know if you got to see this, Tom, but Randy Gradishar is getting his flowers officially from the city of Denver on Friday, I believe, if my math adds up with it being May 1st today.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, it's great for Randy. I mean, it's been so long. It's like finally it happened. He's finally in the Hall of Fame, so let's celebrate it. Whether or not it's a holiday or not, I mean,
well, and it's May 3rd
for everything, but
so it's May 3rd, obviously, because that's 5-3, right?
Yeah,
to represent
exactly.
Randy Gradishar. But you know what, man? Like, it's about damn time that we give Randy Gradishar his flowers. He hasn't been getting them for a long time. So take your victory lap, Randy. You sure as hell deserve it. And speaking of deserving it, man, Stu McBeak, man, he's been with us since the beginning, since the show was on Saturday nights. And Tom, I know you really appreciate all of Stu's insight. Hi, all. Let's go Broncos. And Stu, I am right there with you. I'm excited. I feel like a lot of this fan base is excited. Now, people have the right to reserve judgment and to have their opinions. And if you're not happy with the Bo Nix pick, that's okay. I'd say give him a chance. Let's try to be fair, right? Even some of these quarterbacks that weren't my favorite, like, I don't know, Tom, Bo Nix, I'm excited for. Is this something new? It's not crazy about the jerseys, right? But I'm still leaning into this. This is a new chapter in almost every way for the Denver Broncos. You've got new owners. They're coming into their third season. Your head coach and Sean Payton's coming into year number 2. You think you have a franchise quarterback. At least we're going to explore that for right now. New uniforms. You've got stadium renovations. I mean, what's not to be excited about right now? It feels like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and that's what I said. The NFL draft does so many things great, but the one thing that it does is it always gives teams, fans hope, right? They think they've got a great draft. It's going to turn it around. And, sometimes those hopes go crashing and burning right away. Sometimes they're realized. So you never know. So this is the time of hope right now. Got a quarterback. I think it's a fairly decent draft in all, really, for what they had to work with. They got some good value. So, a couple of those guys, really pop and turn out to be good players, then, all that hope is going to be realized. So it's a fun time.
Bingo. And Stu knows best. I mean, Stu worked in airlines forever and ever. I'm still working in the airlines, if I'm not mistaken. So, Stu, I think it's fair to say Broncos country, we're right there with you. We're flying high, baby. We're excited. It's just a new chapter. This is what I'm here for. I mean, I'm excited. I was really pleased with Bo Nix's introductory press conference. He certainly said all the right things. I didn't get the sense that he was fake, right? He didn't. He gave some nice PR answers, and he was obviously coached up last minute by Patrick Smythe, one of the best in the league, by the way. But I'm excited for Bo Nix. I'm excited for the rest of this draft class. We haven't even gotten into that yet, but it's a fast and the furious episode of MHI 10 minutes in. And look at our friend Cody Dubs coming in, man, always supporting MHI, a generous $5 super. I'm thinking, yeah, we've got Sean Payton to teach, but you know who else can teach Bo and Troy? That would be a top 5 corner. PS2. That's what I'm excited about. Cody, you're on to something right here. And let's leave this up for just a second. Tom, to get Sean Payton's franchise quarterback, Cody's exactly right. It didn't cost him anything.
Right.
Sean and George, steady Eddie, right? I was saying Sean's going to move up. He's never moved back.
I thought so too.
He didn't move up, but you know what? He still didn't move back. He did not have to give up PS2. Tom, you were right. You said Pat Surtain would still be a Bronco, I believe. Last we talked on Wednesday, I thought he was gone. I thought that last Wednesday might be his last full day as a Bronco, but Cody's exactly right. Sean Payton's there to teach Bo Nix. We've got one of Bo's favorite weapons, and Troy coming over from Oregon, and Troy Franklin, obviously. But man, PS2 is still on this roster. You still have a lockdown corner that is going to be competing against the Bo Nix in practice. What's training camp going to look like with a PS2 out there and a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix? Who does PS2 match up against? Cortland Sutton's still going to be on the roster. Are you going to be on a Troy? What are we going to be looking at? It excites me because I think what we're looking at is competition.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny that he's talking about Sean teaching and PS2 teaching. And I got to go back to it because, I'm still scratching my head about the Zach Wilson trade. It's a waste of space now. Zach Wilson does not need to be on this roster. They need to go out and get a vet QB backup type guy who can help mentor this young quarterback, rookie quarterback. They don't need Stidham and Zach
DiNucci.
Wilson trying to fight for the starting job. Go, I know, it didn't cost very much. He's terrible. He's not going to be able to mentor anybody. Get rid of him and get somebody else because the future is Bo Nix, not Zach Wilson. Future is Bo Nix, even if that means it's a year away and Stidham has to be the guy. Go get somebody that can actually help this rookie learn the NFL ins and outs.
Speaking of Zach Wilson, news of the day here in Broncos country. Shocker. The Denver Broncos are declining the 5th-year option on recently acquired quarterback Zach Wilson. You can read about that over milehighhuddle.com. Now, the option would have paid Zach roughly $22 million for the 2025 season, and in his final year of his contract. I get it, Tom. It's a head-scratching move. It didn't cost a lot. I'm not upset about it. I wonder what it's going to look like. It's a really young quarterback room. You're right. And I don't know how you forget about Gucci DiNucci, as my guy DVA says on Saturday night with Ron White. I'll never forget that. I told him I was stealing it, but I'm going to give some credit where credit is due. Man, you're right. Who has the longest tooth in that room? Is it Jarrett Stidham, Ben DiNucci right there? I mean,
Stidham's not like the elder statesman at this point. I'm like, he's got like a couple years of experience.
And I know the NFL experience is vastly different than college experience, Tom. I know this, and this will sound ridiculous, but if you look at like total minutes played of the game of football, college and NFL, I think Bo Nix can circle lap, Jarrett Stidham right now. But it's interesting what this quarterback room looks like right now. You would think that Sean Payton would want a veteran, but he's going to try to breathe some competition in that room, I think. I think DiNucci's obviously on the outs right now. I think Zach Wilson has something Sean Payton likes. Otherwise, he wouldn't have just got him here. Sean Payton is not an arbitrary guy. He's a lot of things. Arbitrary is not one of them. Phil McLaughlin coming in. What's up, Phil? Good to see you. Good evening, Thomas, Luke, and Deacon Scott. Based on free agency and the draft, what grade would you give out to Denver? # Buckham, MHH for life, and Broncos for life. Tom, Phil's getting the best of me right here, and he's trying to be ornery, and I love Phil for doing it because I had tweeted out there that I'm just disgusted with NFL draft grades, free agency grade. I am. I don't understand it. Old man, get off my lawn moment right here. Full disclosure, I lean into it, but I've written articles on it. I've tried to grade. We don't know until 2 to 3 seasons, specifically with the NFL draft, free agency. We might have a better idea with some of these guys who should be plug and play. That's assuming everybody's healthy. That's assuming everyone makes the team. That's assuming a lot.
Yeah. I don't like to give grades out either. From the offseason acquisitions, let's step away from the draft for a second because we don't really know what they have until they
A lot of
step onto
unknowns.
the NFL field, right? We don't know. I think they did a good job of getting decent starters, but they have not gotten any better in the like elite player category. So to me, that's just, they did a good job of filling some holes. You got some quality starters, some decent role players, but they're missing that impact player that they really need. They've got one. They need a couple more to really step up to that next level. So that's when you go to the draft and you wonder, okay, who of these draftees are going to be that player? You hope it's Bo Nix. I mean, because if it's not Bo Nix, then you can look back at this draft as a mediocre draft, even if some of these other guys pop. But but the thing is I can't tell you. I mean, their free agent, I would give them a C for their free agent acquisitions. I think they did okay filling some holes, but they didn't move the needle that much. I don't think, I like that they picked up Franklin Myers, but I don't think he's like a huge upgrade over what they had before, maybe a slight upgrade than, over Mike Purcell or something like that. But, he's not what we thought Zach Allen was going to be, which, stuff like that. So I'm hoping that we go back and look at the draft and say, this is the draft that changed the fortunes of the Broncos. That's what I'm hoping for. And if that's the case, then it's an A offseason. It really is.
Now, that would be great. I thought it was pretty balanced early on, right? You go quarterback in round 1, and then you get Jonah Ellis. Tom, how about that, right? I know Legends. Go look up some Legends podcasts. You never know who stopped by the pod with Thomas, but I didn't get to watch his dad play. I think I was a little too young. I do understand his father was a team chaplain in 2015. Yeah, and Luther Ellis. But, I mean, pass rusher, that's a need, a big need. I mean, we need a Jonah Ellis in round 3 to come in here and start playing now. Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, the clock is on and it's moving, and you either need to start producing and stay healthy or you're gonna get gone. I thought it was it's offensive heavy draft, right? When you look at it with Troy Franklin, you look at it with the running back out of Notre Dame, Audric, even the wide receiver, Veli, and then the center from South Carolina. That's what you're going to get when you have Sean Payton, who's the offensive play caller. Bo Nix, they have to hit on Bo Nix. It won't just be, that's okay. No, you didn't trade anything to get Bo Nix, but you had the number 12, a premium pick in the first round, top 15 pick. If you don't hit on Bo Nix, it will be the end of Sean Payton. Now, Nick Kendall said something I thought was really, really interesting over on X, at Nick Kendall MHH, everybody. He said that he foreshadowed, I don't want to quote it, but he said, man, Bo Nix and Sean Payton, that's a legacy type conversation. And that's a legacy type move. And I absolutely co-sign that and 100% agree. Sean Payton's putting a lot into Bo Nix, specifically his name and his fingerprints.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said earlier, this is tied to him. If Bo Nix flops, you're not going to see Sean Payton on the Broncos sideline much longer.
It's not right? George's fault if Bo Nix doesn't work. It's Sean's, is what you're saying.
No, it's absolutely. I think it's got to be Bo Nix and Jonah Ellis. Those two have to step up and be those elite players that the Broncos have been.
We might just be having a quick internet delay with Tom. We'll get Tom back into the chat. But before we do, Papa Bear coming back in here. Bo Nix is a plug and play quarterback. Hashtag Buckham. Plug and play. That's got to be the vision for Sean Payton. And Tom was exactly right. If week 1 comes around and Bo Nix isn't starting, how do you sell that to the fan base? How do you sell a Jarrett Stidham or a Zach Wilson? Can we foresee a future on this team where Zach Wilson starts before Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix? If that's the case, injuries have happened or something has gone severely wrong. Now, I'm not super excited about the quarterback room right now either, David. I'm not. Bo Nix is leading that charge. Now, I'm a little curious about Zach Wilson, but it's kicking the can down the road, so to speak. I think Zach Wilson is a nice curveball in that room, if you will. He does have some talent. It's all about what's upstairs, your internal processor. How hard a worker are you? Are you a professional? That has really hindered his ability to have success in New York. I would say more than his performance. David Yonkin coming back in. Appreciate you, David. David's going to give the Broncos an A+ to Payton, George Payton and Sean Payton, for not giving up the farm for a quarterback. That's an outstanding comment, David, because as you guys all know, I was getting pretty desperate, right, with this quarterback carousel. I'm sick of it, Broncos country. You're sick of it. The Denver Broncos have never identified and drafted a franchise quarterback. Think about that for just a second. All the greats that have come in, the 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks and John Elway and Peyton Manning, we all know the stories. They weren't drafted here. Can we finally see a change in the future, a changing of the guard in Bo Nix? Is Bo Nix it? Is Bo Nix what we've been waiting for since the 60s for a franchise quarterback with the Broncos? We hope so. We're excited about it. There's a lot of flash in the pan right now, and my optimism's just growing every day, just like my curiosity for Bo Nix. So I think that's a fair take and a fair opinion. David Yonkin coming back in. David right there. Peyton and Peyton getting the A+. I love it. Michael Rinquillo coming in. Drafting a tackle, an offensive tackle, is still a problem for the Broncos in the NFL draft. Another position of need that we've mentioned a lot on this show. I hear it a lot at Broncos for Breakfast too. Offensive tackle. What are we doing to supplement that? Garrett Bowles isn't getting any younger. Mike McGlinchey has had issues with false starts, even some holding penalties there. Very underwhelming performance from a Mike McGlinchey in year one. And the center position, Lloyd Cushion? I mean, there's a lot of holes to fix on this Broncos offense. It's more than just the center. And speaking of the center, Alex Forsyth, right? All these ducks on this team, Alex Forsyth, Bo Nix, Franklin. It's just, you're right, Mike. Drafting an offensive tackle is still a problem. That right tackle position, we thought it was figured out automatically. We being a lot of us in Broncos country. I wasn't sold on the Mike McGlinchey contract. I wasn't sold on him playing in San Francisco. Highest paid offensive tackle in Broncos history. Think about that for a second. Michael saying the Broncos have a tough time finding him. You're right. It's been a long time since the Denver Broncos have found a Ryan Clady, right? And here we are. We're still looking now. Garrett Bowles is a serviceable left tackle. He's a good starter. He draws interest from multiple NFL teams around the trade deadline every year. I know that for a fact. He's not necessarily a piece that we could just give away. So ultimately, I think that's a really good take. It's fair that Sean Payton drafted a quarterback at number 12 without giving up the farm. GLP coming in hot, a $4.99 super. What's up, Thomas, Luke, and Scott? I am excited for this season. It's a new start. And that's just it. It's a new start. Bo Nix is leading the charge. I think mandatory rookie minicamp is right around the corner, and that's when you're going to see some of these guys coming in and first look really down there at the facility without a suit and tie. Right now, I did think Bo Nix hit a home run out of his press conference. He obviously mentioned the Denver Nuggets. He mentioned the Colorado Avalanche and the success that these two playoff teams are having right now. But you know what I want to see? Where I want to see Bo Nix before all of that, Tom. And as we welcome Thomas back in, Tom, you know what? You know where I want to see Bo Nix before rookie minicamp? I'm going to tell you right now. Saturday night, the Denver Nuggets host the Minnesota Timberwolves in Ball Arena here in Denver, Colorado. What better way to introduce your new franchise first-round rookie quarterback to Broncos country than at the Nuggets game, sitting courtside with both the Sheriff Peyton Manning, who's been at every Denver home game thus far in the playoffs, and Sean Payton, the guy who picked you. That's how I want to see Bo Nix. There could be no better introduction, and I get goosebumps talking about it right now, man.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great introduction. I think, I'm with you 100%. Get him out there, make him the face of the Broncos, and make him live up to that lofty expectation right off.
Well, and you got to sell jerseys too. And I know Broncos country's wondering about that, Tom. And Carl had a really good response to this. I saw on X at Carl Dumler MHH, I believe. Someone was asking, when are we going to know the rookie jerseys? When are we going to know the jersey numbers? Because everybody knows that Bo Nix wore number 10 coming out of Oregon, and that number 10 was reassigned or whatever you want to call it to Zach Wilson just days before the NFL draft. So are we going to see Bo and Zach exchanging some dollars for a number? Maybe. I mean, but Broncos country, they're excited for Bo Nix. I know a ton of the Oregon Ducks faithful are coming over to Broncos country because they love themselves some Bo Nix. They want to know what jersey is Nix going to wear. And if you're the Walton Penner ownership group, it's time to start selling those jerseys, baby. You just put new jerseys out there. You've got Tim Patrick demoing them, Quinn Miners, PS2. All those guys are fine athletes. Nothing sells jerseys better than a franchise quarterback.
Absolutely. And if Zach Wilson's like not willing to just give up number 10, then just get rid of him.
Cut him.
Like, all right, whatever.
Zach, well, it was nice having you here at the Broncos for a full week, but you're an ass and you're not going to give Bo number 10. So we're going to cut you. I absolutely love it. DTR coming in here with a $5 super. Sean Payton would have no issue skipping on a quarterback if he thought there wasn't a good one available. Bo Nix deserves respect. Nix for 6. There it is. Bo knows. MHH for life. Nix for 6. DTR. That's the best one I've heard. I like catchy little rhymes, right? We're all writers here at MHH. I like a little alliteration if we can get that in there. And there are some really funny and appropriate ones we can't just start throwing out there. But I'll push back just a little, DTR. Just a little. I would say that Bo Nix deserves a chance. Bo Nix needs to earn Broncos country's respect. And he talked about it. I like hearing that. Unlike Caleb Williams, who's just, it's everybody's job to get on my page and I keep receipts and blah, 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 blah. Bo Nix is coming out here and Bo Nix is saying that I can. I need to compete. I need to earn these starting reps. I need to start preparing in the playbook. He's looking at these short-term goals before he can get to the long-term. It makes me think he's got his head on the right way.
Yeah, he seems to. I mean, he seems polished, seems rattled in the NFL game. Doesn't have to, you don't have to worry about him like folding right away. So let's hope that translates to a franchise quarterback. But like I said, early in we got to see him play a little bit of NFL football before we anoint any of these.
So check this out real quick, Cody. Scott's in my ear right now, and he's saying Nix for 6 is roughly 30 years old. Remember, Scott was at Auburn when Bo Nix's dad was balling out of control at Auburn. And that's interesting, Scott. I didn't know that. That's pretty damn cool. Nix for 6 is already a thing. Maybe here's to wishful thinking that we get lots of 6s with Bo, man. That's pretty neat, Scott. I appreciate you sharing that, man. At Auburn in the glory days, and his dad, obviously, an accomplished quarterback in the SEC at Auburn. Coached high school football, I believe. Coach Bo won multiple championships, I believe. Very well respected. And it's cool when you see these guys and their families on draft day too, man. I absolutely love it. Cody Dubs coming back around. Thank you, Cody. Really, really appreciate your generosity tonight. I'm starting to think that we need a true captain on the defense. Horrible Miami game that didn't have Josie Jewell and Simmons in it. Now we've got to get a vet in here. Cody, you're on to something. Who's the leader of this defense? It can't be your cornerback. I love Pat Surtain. I love him. We all love him, right? Some of us more so than others, like the guys who wanted him here and not Justin Fields. But I digress, Tom. It's you can't have your cornerback be your Ray Lewis. You can't have your cornerback be your Chris Jones. I mean, you've got to have a cornerstone piece. I don't see it from an Alexander Singleton. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't see it. What, safety? What are we going to do? Oh, we've got 3 Texas Longhorns back there. The days of the safety and the cornerback being the captains of the defense, man, those have to be done. I need linebackers. I need D linemen. Who the hell are they? Oop, and we might have lost Tom one more time. We're going to keep it going here, Cody. Sorry about that, bud. But no, I'm with you, dude. You have to figure out a defensive starter. You have to figure out a defensive captain. And who's willing to go toe-to-toe with Pat Surtain? or Patrick Mahomes. Pat Surtain's busy covering Travis Kelce these days, right? Who's going to get after Pat Mahomes? Who's going to show him some attitude? Justin Simmons walking out the door, still a free agent, took that captain with him. I can't off the top of my head say so-and-so is going to come in and be a leader. So-and-so is going to come in and earn that captain. I mean, Vance Joseph's defense makes me worried. I lose sleep at night because of Vance Joseph.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There's nobody, like I said, there's nobody that's elite enough on the, in those positions where you want a leader that is going to step up at this point. I don't see one. I mean, Drew Sanders, he's bouncing between edge and inside linebacker. I mean, like you said, Alex Singleton doesn't really fit the bill. Justin Simmons is gone. I mean, you would hope Zach Allen would step up. He needs to. He's in his prime. He needs to step up his play and his leadership. You would hope Zach Allen would be one, and you would hope they could find some enforcer type, mentality, at least, not necessarily, with the hitting that they get flagged for, but the mentality type, in the linebacker crew or the safety crew that could step up. But it's a new kind of era. There's people have got to step up, and I don't know who that'll be right now.
We are talking the 2024 NFL Draft. Thomas Hall and I are reacting to it here on these airwaves. And Dennis, it's all about quarterback, right? Talking about Bo Nix in the first round. We were wondering, would they pick up a later round quarterback? No. Dennis is onto something here. Can Matacha beat out Wilson, Stidham, or DiNucci? And the young guy I've kept my eye on from afar, John Matacha, out of the Colorado School of Mines. And for those of you that don't know, the Colorado School of Mines is an engineering school in Golden, Colorado, Division II, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a top quarterback, top Division II passer. He was invited to Broncos workouts, Broncos minicamp, what have you. I like it because I've been on this show saying that Sean Payton needs to scour the earth for this franchise quarterback, upgrading the position. He needs to look under every rock and stone. He is quite literally doing that. Tom, yeah. I can't make fun of him too much for Zach Wilson, because you're telling me that you're going to draft a first-round quarterback at 12. You're going to get a former number 2 overall pick in Zach Wilson via a trade, and then you're inviting local top 2 division quarterback John Matacha from Colorado School of Mines out. I mean, call Sean Payton what you want. I think we could say he's been thorough, at least in the quarterback search. He's given tons of different guys with tons of different styles a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Dennis, I think he could beat out DiNucci or Wilson. I mean, I don't think either one of them are around for the long haul. So, I mean, if he really impresses, sure. I don't think he has enough experience. I think they'll probably, if they like him, then probably try and do a practice squad thing and get him some more reps. But I mean, like I said, those 3 quarterbacks, they don't move the needle for me in any way, not as a veteran backup, not as a starter, anything. So, whatever they can find that looks like they're more promising, then I'm for it.
Well, he was one of 3 players invited to minicamp that also included a Fresno State long snapper and then an Oregon kicker as well. Another Duck. Quack, right? Oregon kicker, Camden Lewis as well. No, it's interesting. He leaves Division II with a 172.4 quarterback rating. You can go read about that over milehighhuddle.com right now, which is an NCAA record. Now, we're talking about trying to curve the learning curve just a tad between Oregon and the NFL. Imagine Colorado School of Mines in the NFL, Division II football. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it might be a little tricky. I like that the Broncos are giving him a shot. Why the hell not? Right. And Zebo coming in here. What's up, Zebo? A $10 super. Thank you so much for joining Scott, Tom, and I here on MHI. I may not have the know-how of the NFL football, but as a long-time Bronco fan, from a pure reputation and legacy perspective, Payton will not allow Nix or this year's offensive haul to fail. Hashtag MHH for life. Zebo calling his shot. I absolutely love it. Sean Payton will not allow Bo Nix or this year's offensive haul to fail. Zebo, you're onto something, because we all certainly had some of our question marks with some draft picks last year, right? And then you get a special teams ace, a Pro Bowler in Mims. Marvin, who saw that coming? Not me. I was upset about that pick, Tom, but Marvin Mims did very well in a rookie campaign, right? We weren't expecting much out of him. Sean was expecting something out of him. Took him with a premium pick. I think Zebo's onto something. You got to roll with Sean. You got to lean into it for a little bit here and trust, right? Chad likes to say this to Broncos country too. I saw it at Chad Jensen today on X. You have to trust just for a little while. I know. You don't like Sean Payton. That's okay. We can defer on that. Tom, you have question marks about Sean Payton. I like Sean Payton. I question why the hell Vance Joseph is still here. We need to be patient with these players, regardless of what we think of the head coach.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And and he's going to do everything he can. I mean, his reputation, like you said, his winning, it's all, whether he stays in the orange and blue, all kind of resides now on Bo Nix. And hopefully Bo Nix has what it takes to do it. You can only force so much to happen on these players. If they don't have the willpower, they just can't get it, then they're going to fail on their own. But I totally agree with that. I mean, this is the draft that Sean Payton is resting the rest of his career on, really.
His. Well, and Zebo, man, I appreciate Australia coming in from Australia, from down under, but Broncos country, man, you guys represent. We got Broncos country excited for Bo Nix out there in Australia, man. I absolutely love it. It's cool when you see orange and blue flying all over the world. And I'm not talking about the Chicago Bears stuff, even the Miami Dolphins, they're cute little gimmicks. Everybody knows that orange and blue belongs to the Denver Broncos. I think Zebo's onto something there, man. You have to lean into this. We got to lean into it. Not every pick was my favorite either, and we're still reacting to it, right? We're talking about a new edge, new wide receiver, new corner, new running back, another new wideout, a center. We haven't even got to the undrafted guys yet, Tom. I mean, there could be so many diamonds in the rough, and we should know that here in Broncos country. Look at some of these Pro Football Hall of Famers. And Tom, I got a bone to pick with you. I don't know what's going on with Mike Shanahan and your buddies in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and their voting. I did see your tweet today, and you were referencing your buddy Gil and saying, all right, man, I'm starting to get a little worried. I've been telling you to be worried for 6 months, man. Mike Shanahan doesn't get any respect from your buddies who are the voters of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I got problems with him, Tom. Problems.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was just kind of like, he's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. I was kind of like, I'm going to focus on other people and try and promote other people more, because in my back of my mind, I'm like, Mike Shanahan's going to get in. But,
he should.
Randy Gradishar didn't get in for 30 some years. It's like, okay, you're right. Like, we need to make sure we got to make the extra effort for all these guys that we really truly want in the Hall of Fame, that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Make the extra effort to get them in, whatever that takes, and I only do what I can, my part. I try to do my part and push for it. But yeah, so I'm gonna be pushing Mike Shanahan a lot more than I had been before, for sure.
Yeah, and head on over to @Thomas Hall NFL over on X. Tom runs non-profit campaign. Profits all go right. No profit. All the money and donations go to charity, and you do it for Tom Nalen. And Mark Schlereth's wearing Thomas Hall hoodies right now that say, let's get Tom Nalen to the Hall of Fame. I mean, you never know who's going to be wearing one of these hoodies. Check it out over at Thomas Hall NFL. Phil McLaughlin coming in here. Guys, who is the one player that'll probably be traded on the edge? Cooper, Allen, Browning, Benito, or Nkoum? I don't know about traded, Phil, but released. There gonna be some releases, and it's gonna be tough. And I'm looking at Jonathan Cooper right away, man, and he's one of my favorite players coming out of that draft. Scouted him in the Senior Bowl. Same with Baron Browning and Quinn Miners, but Quinn Miners is a solidified starter. Baron Browning, we're hoping he can come back from his injury. He's a very good impact player when he's in there. Would still like to see him mature. Jonathan Cooper has left a lot for me to be desired. Nick Benito certainly had a much better sophomore season in the NFL than he did his rookie year, but I don't know about trade, Phil. I really don't. Edge is pretty deep here in the NFL, and a lot of undrafted guys, a lot of drafted guys at the edge position too. It makes me feel like the Broncos are probably going to put one of these guys on waivers.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're going to get anything from Nkoum. If you want to put Benito up for trade, you could probably get something for him of value, but I think he's your guy that you still have faith in to like continue to take that next step. He's got a lot of athleticism. He put the work in. Yeah, to me, Cooper and Browning are the two guys that if you want to move somebody, you may be able to get something in trade, possibly for Cooper, possibly for Browning, only because I like Baron Browning. He's got injury history. You can't really rely on him. And I think Cooper, great story. I really love his story. I think he's a try-hard guy, but he just doesn't have that really something extra that's going to make a huge difference on the edge. I think he's a solid starter. He'd be a great rotational guy. If you had like a really great edge, he'd be a good one coming off to relieve him. But you have to upgrade that starting room. You just have to. So if you move somebody, you can only get. I think you really can only get something for Benito of value, but you're not going to try. I don't think they're going to try to trade him. So
it's a good way of looking at it, Phil, because you try to get capital wherever you can, and maybe you make some phone calls before you release them, right? But you kick the tires on some stuff. I would agree that I think Cooper's on the outside looking in. Same with Nkum. But no, Baron Browning. My frustrations with Baron Browning have nothing to do with Baron Browning and everything to do with the Denver Broncos and George Payton. Baron Browning, when I scouted him as an inside linebacker, and I liked him a lot. Yes, he can rush the passer. It doesn't mean just because a player can rush the passer, they should be converted from linebacker to edge. The Broncos have done this the last 10 years, and it hasn't worked out for them. Not once. All right? It drives me crazy because Baron Browning had the exact thing he had in college with Ohio State. You're an edge. No, you're an inside linebacker. No, you're hurt. No, you're in rehab. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle right now, and it does the player no favors. It does George Payton, who had to make that pick, no favors. And he ultimately co-signed moving him to edge. Now, what are they going to do with Drew Sanders? Is he a full-time edge? We're not even going to give him another look at outside linebacker. I mean, these are things that the Broncos need to really hone in on. And dare I say, I don't trust Vance Joseph to make that call. Vance Joseph, what the hell does Vance Joseph know about pass rushers, edge rushers? I mean, he is a secondary coach. The secondary guys love him. He knows a ton about the secondary, but give me a break when it comes to Vance Joseph and trying to get me to buy into the BS and the garbage that is Vance Joseph knows how to get to the quarterback like Pat Mahomes.
Well, and he's squandered a lot of these great, these supposedly great athletes that can play, versatile across the board. He squandered them all that he's ever used, in my opinion. But the thing with Baron Browning too is people, he was on his way to being a pretty good inside linebacker, and I think that probably would have prolonged his career and maybe cut down the injuries a little bit, because as an edge, he's going against 330-pound tackle almost every time he's rushing the passer. When you're an inside linebacker, you can be out in space a lot more, right? Maybe it wasn't a great idea to move him, even though he had a pretty good impact. When they did, he looked like he was going to be a great edge, but kept getting hurt. Maybe that wasn't the best decision for the team. That's my only thought on that.
Yeah, it's time will tell, right? And we're fixing to find out. Cody Debs circling back around. Man, Cody, you've been so active. Thank you so much. Can Allen do the adjustments? Josie got guys in place in the defense, and then they acted like they didn't know what the hell was going on in the Miami game. Cody, again, man, good point. Josie Jewell, he wasn't some players' favorites, some people's favorites, right? If you're an Iowa Hawkeye fan, Nick Kendall. But no, a very good player, Josie Jewell, very respectable. I hope he does well in Carolina, reunited with Israel Evero. That's a big hole on the defense. I fully admit that. Josie Jewell knew his assignment. Now, it's not Josie Jewell's fault that he's the speed that he is, but he was prepared. He was usually pretty locked into the defense and was an effective communicator when he needed to be. I don't know who takes that hat and runs with it. It's a good point from Cody here. Josie Jewell, big hole.
It's going to be Singleton right away, most likely. He's going to be the one wearing the green dot. He's going to be one making the calls because he's got the most experience. He's comfortable. Yep. I mean, they're looking for another inside linebacker, whether it be Drew Sanders or somebody else. So he's going to have to ease into it and take on that responsibility down the road. But I think it's Singleton right away. I liked Josie Jewell. He's a good instinctual player, but he left a little bit to be desired. He just quite wasn't quick enough for my liking in a lot of situations. So, they need to upgrade that. They need to upgrade that position. Actually, both, in my opinion. Alex Singleton makes a lot of tackles, doesn't make a lot of impact plays from that position. So I think both inside linebackers need to be upgraded, the next couple of years.
They almost are like kind of parallel of each other too, right? It's not just because they're the white linebackers, but their games. Like Alex is a lot quicker, but they rely on, I think, mental preparation and just matchups, exploiting matchups via preparation. I think that's at the end of the day what they're going to be known for. And when we look back on an Alex Singleton, on a Josie Jewell, they will have had successful NFL careers. Don't get me wrong. Zebo coming back in here, man. Really, really appreciate all the love from Australia. I believe that the plan was fix special teams in 2023, done. Offense in 2024, in progress, and then defense in 2025. I think that Vance Joseph is done after this year, and Jim Leonard steps in. What are your thoughts? Hashtag Knicks46. Wow, Zebo, there's a lot there, man. Let's start to unpack it. I'll get to the special team stuff, right? Because that's a little tough, and nobody really talks about special teams a whole lot until they suck, which the Broncos have sucked at special teams for a long time. Last year, they got a lot better. I think you saw a lot more fundamentals, good coaching from Sean Payton and the rest of the Broncos coaching staff. But Jim Leonard, man, Jim Leonard is currently on staff as the Denver Broncos defensive backs coach / passing game coordinator, a former Denver Bronco out of 2012. Tom, we've talked about this briefly. Broncos country's keeping an eye on Jim Leonard. What do they know about Jim Leonard that I don't know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's funny that he says fix special teams because remember, I was telling you all after the draft last year, I was like, this draft was mostly about special teams. And you're like, oh, no. I was like, yeah. I feel vindicated from Zebo.
Here.
But yeah, I mean, Jim Leonard's up and coming coach, right? There's some familiarity with him. But I think a lot of it has to do with his, what he did in college. He had a really successful defensive performances from his defenses in college, from what I understand. So I think they're thinking for the future because nobody thinks Vance Joseph is around long haul. Nobody. I mean, you and I keep like, why is he even here? So it's one of those things where you're looking at the next step. But it's funny because if it happens next year, I don't know if Jim Leonard gets the role. I think it's somebody that Sean Payton is familiar with, that they step in, that they bringing the band back together, so to speak. But I do believe Jim Leonard is, whether he works out or not, I think teams believe he will, and he's going to be fast tracked to a defensive coordinator position.
No, you think Sean Payton would bring in a guy of his own, a guy that he likes, a guy that he has history with, and Scott's calling a good shot here.
The shocker, huh?
Yeah, Scott's coming in here. How about a guy named Dennis Allen, current head coach of the New Orleans Saints, maybe in 2025, and that'd be a Broncos reunion because if memory serves, 2011, 2012, Dennis Allen was defensive coordinator here in Denver. Yeah. And it did not go well, if memory serves.
It went well enough for him to get the Raiders head coaching job.
Yeah, well, yeah. What does that mean? Yeah, I know you got a 2-year, maybe a 1 or 2 year gig. He didn't last very long. Who the hell does over there for the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly the Oakland Raiders? Oh, look at our guy, Tea Time Larry. What's up, Larry? What's up, guys? It's not Nick Saban that I don't trust. It's Sean and the quarterback coach and their ability to get the full potential out of Bo Nix. Because of that, keep an unnecessary amount, not quarterbacks on the roster, till we find someone who can drive and score at least 3 touchdowns a game. Now, Lawrence is obviously referencing legendary, the GOAT of college football, Nick Saban, man. Nick Saban is firing back at critics who are saying the Broncos reached for Bo Nix. You can go read about that. Our good friend Keith Cummings from across the pond has an article up and running at milehighhuddle.com, and many quotes came through from Nick Saban. Good fit, accurate, really like Bo, known him since his sophomore year. I mean, when Nick Saban gives Sean Payton some kudos, and Nick Saban didn't quite have the same career he had in college as he had in NFL. What do you make of Nick Saban's comments? Because I see where Larry's going there. Larry's saying, okay, Nick Saban, respect. But that doesn't mean everything's going to work out just because we're excited and just because we're curious for the future. I like Larry's cautious optimism that you sometimes represent, Tom.
Well, he didn't have to, he didn't have to come out and give him a review like that. That's where it's not someone he's attached to. He never coached him, or anything like that. So it feels like it's kind of more of an honest take. Whether he's right or not, that remains to be seen. But at least it's not coming from, one of his position coaches or one of his ex-coaches that they had on a team, somewhere down the line. It's coming from a legendary college coach who, had firsthand experience playing against him. So I think you could take a little bit of that with and put a little bit of faith into what he's saying. I mean, it's Nick Saban saying it. So, but he's an analyst now, right? He's so isn't he an analyst now, like for one of the
Yeah.
network?
Well,
So maybe maybe he's just playing the devil's advocate or something.
well, it's weird too, right? And you look at Bo Nix, who I think he's an Alabama boy. I think he was technically born in like Arkansas or something like that. But he's an Alabama boy, and we know what football is in the South, right? We have an idea. Scott knows he's still living it. He lived it his whole life. I'm Colorado native. It's different. I remember my high school football teams, man, and I remember traveling to the South, and I remember thinking we were the big dogs here in Colorado. We were, but it was very humbling when you got to the South and you realized Texas, Bama, Florida, Tennessee, what football is to them is a lot different than what it was to us out here in Colorado. So
Sure.
I like that. I like the pedigree of a Bo Nix, right? We're talking Scott got to go to school with his dad out there in Auburn, watch his dad play. That's where Nix for 6 is coming from. I mean, that stuff excites me. Now, does it mean it's going to work out? No. And Lawrence coming back in my opinion, Zach Wilson should have more quarterback reps in the NFL, and he could get benched when Bo learns more. I don't like that. I think the big Lawrence, you're army just like I am, so call your shot, dog. No, Zach Wilson. Can Zach Wilson be prepared? Zach Wilson's been a Denver Bronco longer than Bo Nix. Wonder what that preparation is like when you look at Bo Nix and Zach Wilson side by side on the grease board. I know what it's like for Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham's a robot. That's why Sean Payton loves him. Jarrett Stidham is a whiz on the grease board based on everything that I've heard. And I think that's why Sean Payton is very attached to Jarrett Stidham. I think Sean Payton is hoping that Jarrett Stidham is going to put his hand around Bo Nix and try to mama cat him along for a couple years in the league. Now, can he do it? Maybe. Do we see it? I don't know. Is it because Jarrett Stidham doesn't have a ton of experience? He's gonna one day. I mean, these journeyman quarterbacks that have played 17 years in the league, believe it or not, Tom, they started out on a team as a young dog, not a lot of reps. And sometimes they tend to last, and they're like that bad penny you can't get rid of.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I think the plan is I'll say this. If Zach Wilson is the one starting, there's some serious issues going on. That's my opinion. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to be on this team. I don't. Wow. When September 1st rolls around, when they got to make those cuts, or whenever it is, August 30th, I don't think he's going to be on the team. I think it's going to be Stidham. If Bo Nix isn't ready to start, Stidham's going to take the first few starts until Bo Nix is ready. Hopefully Bo Nix is the starter and Stidham is the backup, can come in if necessary, if something falters or whatever. And then they need to find a third guy. And I don't know who that'll be, but I just don't. Zach Wilson to me doesn't offer anything. I've seen him play. He's had one of the worst 3 seasons of any starting quarterback in the history of the NFL. I mean, I've adjusted the stats for error. It's terrible. I've seen him play. He's not, and on top of it, I don't feel like he's really a Sean Payton type of guy either. So I don't know why he even is on the team, really. Like I said, at the very start of the show, why not have a savvy vet that can help a rookie quarterback? I get it that they didn't have him drafted yet, but that was the plan.
Right, you're right, and coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? It's like to the Bo Nix people that wanted somebody else here. Sorry, we're stuck with Bo. I don't look at it as stuck. Now, if you don't like the Bo Nix pick, I completely understand. You're stuck with Nix. I don't foresee Sean Payton bringing a new quarterback into his offense, into this team that late into training camp, right before the regular season. I disagree with you. I think Zach Wilson makes this team. I think it's Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Bo Nix in that quarterback room. That doesn't mean that's what I would do. That doesn't mean that's what I want. Remember, I didn't want Bo Nix per se, Tom. I thought it could happen. I listed it as a possibility. I'm getting excited about it. I want to try to look at Zach Wilson with the same similar. I should say same. I want to look at Zach Wilson with a similar optimism, a similar sort of curiosity. Nathaniel Hackett ruins quarterbacks, Tom. All right. He ruins quarterbacks. What's he doing now? We're going to just all of a sudden have this career resurgence. I don't know, man. It just doesn't work. It didn't work out in New York. I get it. It may not work out here in Denver. I get it. But it's an intriguing storyline, right? And I think right now with Zach Wilson and that 5th-year option being declined today, you're probably a little bit more closer to your point than mine. I think a world where Zach Wilson gets released isn't a stretch. I think that we could totally see that. But I think Zach wanted to bring on, Sean wanted to bring Zach in, who's roughly Bo Nix's age, right? I mean, how about some peer-to-peer competition a little bit? You get a young guy, 2 young guys in the room, and then Jarrett Stidham and Gucci Danucci. Here we go.
Well, the difference, I guess, with the optimism is Bo Nix, we haven't seen him play in the NFL yet. There's optimism because we think, okay, he can take that next step. There was optimism when Zach Wilson was drafted as well. And we saw that he just doesn't have it at the NFL level. So that's why I don't have optimism for Zach Wilson, while I do have optimism for Bo Nix, because, it's warranted. He has yet to take an NFL snap.
Let me pin you down for a second. And I just thought about this. Who would you rather have in the Denver Broncos quarterback room, just to see? Zach Wilson or Trey Lance?
Oh,
that's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it is a tough one. I mean,
I'm going back to that draft, right? And I'm thinking, man, I loved Zach Wilson. I loved him. And then I think back to some of our cohorts, right? And some of them that loved Trey Lance. And they're 2 different quarterbacks, but they're both kind of in the same wrinkle right now of it didn't really work out during that first punch. They flinched a little bit. Now their careers are kind of on their last legs before they could really get started.
Yeah, I guess I guess I'd have to lean towards Zach Wilson, just because he actually
you heard it, folks.
Thomas Hall is
on the Zach Wilson
He hasn't been able to really get on the field, so that's saying something. But yeah, again, I just to me, Zach Wilson now is not a necessary player on the team at his position. You've got a young guy that you've invested your first round pick in. I still think that there should be a vet that helps mentor him, and maybe Stidham is the guy. It just doesn't feel like it to me. He doesn't feel like he's had enough time and experience to really, but maybe he is. I mean, what is this, his 4th year? This will be his 5th year in the NFL. Maybe he does have it. Maybe Sean Payton's happy with that.
Should be plenty of tread on that tire, I think is what you're getting at. Zebo coming back in here. I think that they, being the Broncos, will rehab Zach Wilson to hopefully translate to some picks. It's a George Payton kind of a move. I disagree there, Zebo. This is all Sean. George doesn't make the moves. George does what he's told. that's Sean's role. But I agree with you that hopefully it translates to some sort of success. What if Zach Wilson looks decent and maybe you could trade him? I don't know how that would work, because if Zach Wilson's looking really good and gets value, then that means he has been playing winning football and winning games, and then everything's out of whack. And then we're into a San Francisco 49ers quarterback room where we have a Trey Lance in our first round pick and Bo Nix. And then there's a Brock Purdy scenario where we've got a lesser pedigree quarterback. What a mess this quarterback thing here in the NFL is.
I think what it would mean was Bo Nix didn't work out. Stidham got hurt. Zach Wilson got to play, and he started playing good. And then what do you do? Then it's like, oh, wait, he's playing good. We can't get rid of him.
Oh, man. Nightmare scenario. Break glass in case of emergency. Ben DiNucci. Cody Dubs coming back. Jarrett Stidham as quarterback? No. Stidham quarterback coach? Yes, he's smart. Cody, I'm glad you brought this up. The quarterback coach. This has been brought up a couple times tonight as we start to wrap up MHI. It's escaping me. The quarterback coach for the Denver Broncos right now, Tom.
Right? Davis Webb.
He has been getting some buzz the last year. He was a first-year quarterback coach last year. A lot of analysts, I think Chris Sims went out there, Mike Florio, shocker, right? Come out and say, don't be surprised if you see this guy as a play caller in the league. What do you make of a Davis Webb and a rookie quarterback? Even the quarterback coach doesn't have that much experience, right, in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's really well respected. So, I love the comment because, maybe I'm looking at it from a wrong perspective, right? Maybe, Stidham is smart enough. He can't get out there on the field, doesn't have all the tools, but he knows it in his mind. So maybe you're onto something. Maybe I've been overlooking Stidham as far as a mentor towards a young rookie quarterback. So we'll see how it plays out. Davis Webb to me was kind of a head scratcher when it first happened. But he seems to, be well respected. And I mean, that's all I got to go with. Like, people think he's an up and coming coach, a really decent, solid quarterback coach, and probably has a future, down the road as, offensive coordinator. And so, I mean, even though he didn't have a lot of time in the NFL, he's earned the respect of many of the NFL people. So I got to go with that.
Yeah, that's just it. And Phil McLaughlin coming in here. When Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick, where did you guys have him rated? It was so funny, Phil. I don't know if you saw this on my social media at Luke Patterson LP. I made fun of Zach Wilson 2 days before he came here, and I was making fun of everybody. I was blasting everybody, especially those guys per source that are never wrong about anything, right? Just like they guaranteed Sean Payton would never be here. Still, silly stuff like that. We are so wrong all the time. It's okay. We reserve judgment to change our mind, but I like to bring up some failed picks that I've had. Zach Wilson was one of them. I had him as my number 1 quarterback coming out of that draft. I absolutely loved his talent and arm strength. And I'm sure you could go read those articles at Luke Patterson LP over on X.
He did have talent and arm strength, but at least it wasn't like we never got to it. But I posted on Twitter. My biggest dumb draft take was saying I wanted Louis Oliver over Steve Atwater back in '89. So I'm admitting to it. What the heck? That was dumb. Everybody does it. I didn't have Zach Wilson rated anywhere. I was okay. I wasn't really watching to evaluate them as players. I was doing a lot of analytics about the overall draft and where the rounds, kind of fall. You people that are, positions that are drafted by round and stuff like that. So I had no opinion at the time on Zach Wilson.
Well, you certainly have one now, Tom. You don't hold back. You don't hold back on Zach. Michael coming in, tying a big red bow on it. Great show tonight, Luke and Thomas and Scott on the Mile High Insiders, and go Broncos, guys. You absolutely brought the heat. I've been waiting for a long time to share some of these opinions. I've been trying to share just a few of them over on X at Luke Patterson LP. Tom, I know you're the same way at Thomas Hall NFL, but we tried to really save it for Wednesday night for MHI. It's a special night for Tom and Scott and I, and we've been waiting to share this with you in Broncos country. It has been rocking and rolling on Wednesday nights. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's nice to not have 3 shows, right? Because it felt like before I was like talking about something, then I was saying it again on another show. Now it's all builds up to this one night, and it's actually pretty fun because I have a lot of stuff I want to get off my chest, so to speak. So it's nice to have everybody in the chat to talk with, and of course you, Luke, talking with you about football. So I
appreciate that, brother. As always, Broncos country, we love y'all so much. Lawrence coming back in here. Don't beat yourself up. He was with the Jets and Hackett. No, I hear you, Lawrence, and I'll try to kick the tires on Zach Wilson and see what we get. I certainly appreciate all of you guys. And you know where I want to see Bo Nix? I want to see him at the Nuggets game on Saturday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. Let's go Nuggets. Do not forget the Colorado Avalanche. We are rocking and rolling here in the Mile High City. Stay tuned to milehighhuddle.com. Follow the mothership on Twitter, on X at Mile High Huddle. Give Tom a follow at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Don't forget our buddy and good friend Scott Kennedy at Scout Kennedy. Broncos country. Here we go with Bo Nix. Quack, quack, quack. This is the way.
This is the way.